all the investments from VCs and all the money flowing around to actually realize that only 5 million people are there. There is less people in DeFi than people playing badminton worldwide. Like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? It's like the niche market. Come on.
Hello everyone, this is Gauthier from Mutualknowledge, and today my guest is Nicolas Vaiman, a French compatriot, and Nicolas is the founder and CEO of Bubblemaps, among other things, and he's going to talk to us about his projects and his products. Nicolas, hi.
Hello, Gauthier. Thanks for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. We met actually in Portugal, but as you said, we're French compatriots, and I'm super happy to be here.
Yeah, it's quite funny. Usually you go to all these conventions and sometimes you hear something in the accent of the person. Oh, but you're from the same country as I am. Okay. We come from the same country. Okay, fine. Okay, let's make an interview somewhere. Okay, thanks for being here. So, how did you get in the blockchain sector in the first place? Is it something that has started recently or is it something older?
I actually came into crypto during the bull run of 2017. I like to say I'm this generation of bull run because we all come during a bull run, or at least the majority of the crypto enthusiasts and crypto users. So I came during this bull run, and immediately, like the rest of us, I fell into the rabbit hole. I immediately loved the experiences, the atmosphere. And in 2019, I created my first crypto company called Cryptonavia. And Cryptonavia, just to be super brief, we gathered off-chain data about the majority of the coins back then, like the sentiment on social media, the GitHub activity of the coins. And we gathered all this information on a customizable dashboard. And in 2021, when we saw the meteoric rise of DeFi, we thought, let's put off-chain data on the side for now and focus on on-chain data. And this is how Bubblemaps was born, which is the company we're focusing on right now.
All right. And it's interesting. Yes, indeed. Most people come in the sector when there's a bull run, rarely when there's a bear market or something like that. And how was your first experience with the sector?
Well, yes, I arrived during the bull run and I started my career or my journey as an investor. I think that's the most natural kind of accelerator because when your money is involved, suddenly it gets you, right? The passion starts to be very intense and you want to learn and you want to optimize your gains. So when you start investing your own money, suddenly you have this urge of learning and doing everything else. There is this saying like, put your money where your mouth is. And this is exactly how I started this crypto journey, is immediately investing. And my first investment was actually into Ripple, which is kind of a crypto I learned to not like that much when time went by. But yeah, that was my very first investment. And I arrived at the peak of the bull run. I think I arrived the pure noob. I arrived in like November 2017. So I was like winning for a month. And then immediately, as the market started to collapse, I hold like a dummy until it went to zero. So I lost the majority of my investments. But yeah, in the meantime, during these couple of months where the market went from, the Bitcoin went from 20K to, I don't know, 7 or something like this, super harsh collapse. I hold everything and I learned. And this is how eventually it led to me creating my first company because I learned I was using some analytical tool. And I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to go back to a company after these couple of exciting months.
So, what was your typical life? First of all, how old were you when you started in the blockchain industry? When you came in contact with this industry, how old were you?
I was 24.
Okay, and so what was your experience before that? Were you more a techie, like a developer, or did you study something else? Were you already in an active job?
You're right. I should have started by this, actually. I went directly into the crypto stuff. But yeah, I come from an engineering background, engineering school. And then at the end of my engineering studies, I did 2 years as a consultant in a strategic consulting firm. The very traditional path, right? scientific studies, consulting firm, and all felt very dull to me, very boring and very mundane. And I
Okay.
wanted something more exciting, something that will drive me. I was actually a very bad employee, always late and not really subordinate, was not really listening to my superiors. And I don't know, I just didn't feel it. It didn't quite click with me. So when I started crypto, I was like, finally something that drives me. And I was like, there's no way I won't let this go easy because it's hard to find your drive and your passion. I don't know if crypto was it for me or if it was the fact that I was my own, like making my own way into life. I think that was more the fact that I was leading my way. But yeah, like 2017, 2024, and a couple of years later, I created my company in crypto because I wanted to give it a try, and it actually failed. But it's a long journey, but we can get into this later.
Well, it teaches you a lot most of the time. I mean, failure is. I usually say failure is worth 3 successes because it teaches you a bit more. It's more painful as well, so it's worth more.
That's an interesting theory.
It's also worth more in terms of pain as well. So you gotta be careful here. All right, and so Bubblemaps then, what is it?
So, as I said, Cryptonavia gathered off-chain information. And that was actually interesting because we got to learn about the cryptocurrency market and the French players. Back then, I was already in touch with Ledger, with Journal du Coin, with some of these more established players that are still very much alive today. So I got to taste crypto for the first time, really on an intimate level. And yeah, so Cryptonavia failed because we didn't have quite the right product market fit. The product was too simple for advanced users and too complex for completely newcomers. So we didn't have quite the right positioning. And with Bubblemaps, actually, we were like, all right, let's keep it very simple. Let's keep it very simple. We have one idea that has never been done before in crypto, so we're going to use this idea and push it to the limits. And with Bubblemaps, we have actually invented a brand new way of exploring blockchain data. We're very proud of this achievement. So Bubblemaps, in a nutshell, it's a way of exploring blockchain data through interactive and playful visuals. And the idea is you take any token or NFT collection, all the holders, so all the wallets that are owning this specific NFT or token, are represented by bubbles on a map, on a plan. And you can see afterwards mutual connections between these wallets in the form of links between the bubbles. So let's say you're looking at the bubble map of a Ripple, right? My first investment, you're gonna see all the top holders as bubbles. And if there's been any Ripple transfer between these wallets, then their bubbles are gonna be linked together. So instantly you can see if there's been any wallet manipulation, you can see if there's been any pre-sale, market sale, VC's investments, because then all these wallets are going to communicate with each other. And if you see conglomerate of wallets, then you have to understand what's going on. Are all those wallets belonging to the same person, or belonging to the team, or marketing payments? Then you have to make your own interpretation. But it's a very interesting and nuanced tool that is quite successful right now. We have partnered up with major chains like Avalanche, Phantom, Chronos. We have been incubated by crypto.com and another incubation that I cannot reveal right now. But yeah, it's going fairly well.
That's great. That's great to see, to hear. And for our listeners, when I met Nicolas, he had just won the pitching event at the WoW Summit in Lisbon. So one more to your long list of victories. That's cool. And so you're talking about the bubbles. So if there's constant exchange between a few wallets, for example, does the link appear a bit bigger, or is it significant visually for the viewer?
That's an interesting question. At the moment, if there's been any kind of transfer, the bubble gets connected. There is no degree or like size of the links or intensity of the links. But you can, if you wanted, you can click on show transfers to see directly the amount of tokens or Ethereum that was transferred between the wallets. There is no visual cue that is telling you this more transfers happen here. But that would be actually an interesting idea. Why not?
Yeah, or, maybe to see if there are for sometimes bots or networks of wallets trying to to perform repeated exchanges just to artificially rise the price. Like some people would be doing some malevolent front running and trade assets by trying to manipulate, just like people manipulate stock markets sometimes. So okay.
It happens, and it happens more in crypto, I think.
Oh yeah.
Or at least it is more visible, because since everything happens on chain, and market is the very first market where on chain our data is public by design, and this is the beauty of it. Then you can see various patterns and various behaviors, and we want to make them appear in a nice interactive visual way.
And how many people are there at Bubblemaps at the moment?
So we started as a team of 4. The current CTO was actually with me at Cryptonavia, so he joined me in this journey. He's awesome, actually. He's a very talented dev, made everything on his own. He's one of the top dev of our generation. Great. I'd like to believe it, of course. And so we started as 4, and now we're a team of 8 full-time members. And we're currently fundraising, looking to expand our team, accelerate our growth, and go to the next level.
Okay. And so then how do you monetize that? Is it a subscription for people who want to survey the market, to query it in a very easy way, even if you're not stock market trained, for example?
It is entirely free for the user.
Okay. Oh,
so
okay.
Everybody listening right now, if you have been investing into a token or an NFT collection, you can go to bubblemaps.io, or more specifically app.bubblemaps.io, and look for your favorite token and see how the distribution is. If there's too many connections between the holders, you might worry. You might investigate this in more depth, because it means maybe someone is manipulating the market and having more of the supply than he pretends. So
that could mean also that the market is not that healthy, because at an equal market valuation, there could be very different ways to have the same valuation, a different way of spreading it.
Of course, of course. Yeah, crypto is the realm of manipulation, for sure. It's so easy compared to like manipulating stock, which is so regulated. There's so many people looking at what you're doing, but in crypto, bro, anything is doable. So, but yeah, so the monetization is purely B2B. Okay. Tokens want to be audited by Bubblemaps because they want to spread awareness on their supply, how healthy it is, they made things correctly. And so we audit their supply. And we've been working with some major players in the industry, like 1inch, Spooky Swap, Coin98, Olympus DAO. Some of the major DeFi tokens have gone through us. One, because they wanted to see their Bubblemap. Maybe they were worried about their Bubblemap at first, like, oops, oops, I've never seen this before. And second, because after they've seen their Bubblemap, they wanted to show it to their community. And if you want to show it to your community, you need to have some degree of explanation. We need to go through it together, explain that this cluster corresponds to this behavior, this corresponds to this. So we're kind of the doctor of the supply. We examine and we see if there's any bad sales.
All right. And could we imagine in a near future some kind of a Bubblemaps label, like a Bubblemaps health score of a market, so that people can invest and say, okay, this has a 2 billion market cap, but compared to this asset, the amount of interaction is very different. So here's our interpretation, something like that?
That would be a super interesting topic for research. Labeling is good if you have a high degree of certainty on the labels. If you're labeling things with like 50% accuracy, then you're misleading people. So it would be super interesting to score or to label clusters. And I think with the fundraising, this is one of the topics that we'd like to tackle. But at the moment, given the resources, we have other things to focus on.
Okay, wonderful. Long live Bubblemaps then.
Yes, sir.
And so what are the next functionalities you guys want to, the next functions you want to add to your product?
So there's one that we released recently that is called historical Bubblemaps. Because when you look at the tool right now, you're going to see the current distribution of a token. So let's say you were looking at 1inch, you're going to see all the bubbles. and the size of the bubble is going to be linked to how much the wallet owns of 1inch. But maybe what you'd like to see is the bubble map when 1inch started, when the token was launched. And the reason why you want to see this information is because, some of these tokens, when they launch, there is participation from VCs. Some large investors are in very early, and this condition the sustainability of the project. So if you have this information on who got in at first, who were the first VCs involved, how much of the supply did they get very early, then you're able to measure, to evaluate how the token is going to perform later on. Also, I know for a fact that some tokens now are aware of Bubblemaps and are trying to hide their kind of silly movements.
I assume you're not going to give any name.
I'm not going to make any enemies right now on this podcast, but I've been told there is some sneaky movements. But with historical bubble maps, since all the data is public, we'd be able to see the bubble map of a token back in 2019, back in 2018, and see kind of a movie. Imagine this, a movie of a token through time of all the wallets, all the holders. And the beauty of it, if I can add just one thing, the beauty of it, it's like the Big Bang. It always starts with one wallet, and then it expands to infinity.
Yeah, of course. Of course, it starts with one. Oh, that's lovely. Actually, that's even emotionally touching visually. So that's quite a good factor of success, actually, for a project. If you have if you know that some people are taking it into account, like we shouldn't have a bad reputation on this one. That means that at least they consider your advice important. So that's nice.
That's true. That's actually a good indicator. We've had one thing recently that was interesting. A project contacted us on Twitter and they said, "Hey guys, our community is flooding because of our bubble map. Is there any way that you could release a statement or a tweet or a thread indicating that our bubble map is not that bad because this is the story behind the bubble maps?" And they gave us the full story on why these clusters were here, why those connections were there. And this is why, like, kind of makes me think about the clustering thing. Sometimes some bubble maps are heavily connected, some wallets are connected, but there's a legitimate reason. They had to refund some people, they had to send, some marketing payments or anything. And the bubble map looks bad, but there's actually a good story behind it. So if we were to score them, we would be giving them a bad grade, whereas instead there is a genuine reason. But one interesting thing to do when you have a suspicious bubble map, instead of analyzing yourself, you send it to the tokens themselves, to their community on Telegram. And the way they respond to their bubble map is often more enlightening than the bubble map alone. If they start banning you and stuff, you have your answer.
Yeah, so an investor would maybe benefit less from a label and more from a log of all the interactions, saying, okay, because this one seems hard to interpret, we ask the foundation to tell us why why it looks like this, and they told this answer or that answer, and then you will be the judge. You, the user, will be the judge. Oh, this is great. I love it.
In an ideal world, they would answer us, but most of the case, they just blatantly ignore us.
Of course. Well, let's hope they ignore it less the bigger you get. But then, okay, I'm going to ask a very tricky question, maybe. Imagine we would have used that tool for FTX.
Ooh. So I get the question. You don't need to get the question. So would it have been possible to anticipate the collapse of FTX using Bubblemaps, I suppose?
Well, anticipating the collapse is something that is very hard, because most of the time, I don't know any sane tool that predicts the future with certainty. Otherwise, there would be only this one, and that usually is very hard to even see competent traders, because if you have so many people trading and investing, the improbable event would be to not see somebody successful. The problem is that I don't know any epistemologically sound way to make the difference between a very lucky bastard and a very smart bastard. So that I don't know, but at least would it have been maybe possible to see that the whole ecosystem was unhealthy? Because there are many facts that are known to the public now that obviously show that there was a very long list of successive mistakes in auditing that company and in even taking these investments into account and how the funds were used. So, is it something that would have appeared on Bubblemaps?
As you said, in hindsight, this is easy, because in hindsight, oh yeah, how could I have been so ignorant on all these signs and all these mistakes and the way the SBF was talking and everything? In hindsight, it's always easier. With Bubblemaps, I think there was one thing that could have been a red flag. It's actually the Bubblemap of FTT, their native token.
Yeah.
Because with Bubblemaps, really the purpose is that you can plug in a token or an NFT and see the distribution. There is no way of plugging FTX. It doesn't really mean anything. And also because their hot wallets are usually, you don't know really where their hot wallets are, and there's a degree of secret on their wallets. Or Alameda as well, which was the investment firm with FTX. With FTT, that was actually interesting because their Bubblemap was heavily centralized. You could see there was one wallet that was holding 60% of the supply of FTT. And I think most of the people looking at their Bubblemap was like, yeah, I mean, yes, it's about Bubblemap, but it's FTX.
Oh.
It's about Bubblemap, but it's FTX, man. They're too big to fail.
Oh,
and I think we're all a bit victim to this. Like when we see red flags, but it's such a big entity and a big company, we blame ourselves. Like, oh, maybe I don't know. I don't have all the information. Surely it must be me. But yeah, with the Bubblemaps of FTT, it was actually very interesting. And we're working with Pirates Labs. They're a great French company. They're helping us fundraise and creating the company anyway. And they actually posted a nice thread on Twitter and on LinkedIn where they said FTX could have been anticipated with Bubblemaps looking at FTT. But a nice thread. So for all the auditors curious to learn more, maybe we can share this in the description.
Yeah,
or something.
I'll put the link in the description because this is very interesting. Of course, investing is very hard, and it's always easier with the retrospective bias to look at what happened and say, oh, of course, it could only end the way it ended. Yes, of course, but that's easy once it's over.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. And so regarding FTX or other subjects, what are the challenges you think the blockchain industry will have to face in the future?
Well, there's one thing I know for sure is that people are going to transition to DeFi a lot. It's a trend we're currently noticing in the space where there is more and more users of Uniswap. Uniswap has never been that high in terms of trading volume. So Uniswap is a DEX, decentralized exchange. So people are moving away from centralized exchange and going to decentralized exchange, taking their own keys. And that was the promise of crypto all along. Crypto was supposed to be own your keys, own your money. But then for simplicity, for the sake of maybe not having the responsibility of your money, which means you can lose them. Well, at the end of the day, people would give their key away to some players, reputable players, but also bad players like FTX. So I think what happened with FTX was the beginning of a big migration or a big transition from CeFi to DeFi. There's actually right now 330 million crypto users right now. But do you know how little users of DeFi there is? Do you have a guess, like an educated guess of how many DeFi users are there?
Okay, so because I'm researching markets, I'm going to make a guess that is not a guess. But before researching that, I would have said something like 5%.
5% of the 330?
That's what I would have told you before entering this sector more deeply.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's actually less. So I mean, me too. I would have believed at least 10 to 20% are using DeFi, but it's actually like something like 1.5%, 5 million. There is only
Yeah.
5 million DeFi users. It's so little, such a little amount. It's crazy.
Yeah, when we started pitching Moon to one of our products is a smart contracts language. So I started, getting numbers on how much was moved through transactions, and a lot of money is moved through smart contracts and transactions every year. But the amount of actual people using this tech is at the moment very, very small.
And it's actually crazy when you see all the investments from VCs and all the money flowing around to actually realize that only 5 million people are there. There is less people in DeFi than people playing badminton worldwide. Like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? It's like the niche market. Come on.
Yeah, okay. I love it when you say it like that. Yes. More.
So I think the challenge from the industry is that people will have to realize eventually that crypto is about owning your keys, not being only on centralized finance, and transitioning to DeFi, leveraging all the opportunities that there is on DeFi, staking, NFTs. It's a big realm of opportunities, and you have to play a bit around. So yeah, I think most people, that was a big hit for many people. Some of my friends were in FTX, so the ripples of what happened were enormous. But all in all, I think it's going to be a strong argument for transitioning to DeFi, and it's good for the industry as a whole.
Okay, and now I'm going to ask you an even maybe trickier question. What would happen if we were to apply Bubblemaps or the future tools you guys are going to develop regarding auditing? What would happen if you guys were auditing a government issued crypto like digital dollar or even digital Chinese yuan or euro?
A CBDC?
Yeah. What would happen if a CBDC was audited? Because talk to me about market manipulation then.
Oh la la. Now those are big enemies to have. But I'm not sure how their blockchain is going to be. Is it going to be a public blockchain or a private blockchain?
Yeah, I'm not
Is
even
it
sure
really
it's
going to
going to be an
be?
actual blockchain. It could be something that sounds blockchain-ish and that has the taste of it, but when you dig into it, it's not it might be actually mutable, and I don't see how they could keep it immutable if they don't want to, unless they want to relinquish the power of printing money. But I'm not imagining governments would do that.
Nah.
This is one of their top leverage, independently of what one could think about it. But yeah, what would it? How would it be the same process for to audit a CBDC?
If they, as we said, if they apply the same logic from traditional blockchain to their CBDC, why not? That would be exactly the same for us.
Okay.
Because then all the data would be public, which means we could see the actual top holders, the top owners, and we could plug this information into a Bubblemap and see how distributed this really is. Although I doubt it. And this is especially interesting for mintable coins. So mintable mean that you can print. It's a fancy word for saying printable money. I suppose, as you said, this will be printable. This is an interesting leverage they have. And with Bubblemaps, it's nice because when you have a heavy mintable coin, then all the bubbles decrease with time because the supply increases, which means that relatively, in percentage, all the wallets are shrinking. This is the definition of inflation, right?
Yeah.
So this is a pattern that we've seen in crypto. But also, there is another kind of related topic. You know that there is some topics right now with security tokens to put into crypto traditional assets like, I don't know, Amazon stock price or whatever stock, and that would be completely translatable into a coin that you could buy on a decentralized exchange. There are some topics of like making Amazon that you could buy Amazon on the DEX. I've heard some very, very smart people working on this right now. So imagine if that were the case, we could have the Bubblemap of Amazon. Wow. How cool would it be?
That would be great. And even I'm thinking about, in 2020, we had that GameStop episode. And what would it have been? How people would have seen that there were people trying to short the market and to profit of it. So yeah, definitely, I love the idea. But if this happens, that means that people are going to switch increasingly towards DeFi, because that means that
Everything is possible.
yeah. If this
Um,
happens, that means that that DeFi is here to stay, and for good.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's already here to stay. But if it happens, surely it's going to increase the range of possibilities. It's going to be awesome. But the idea with Bubblemap is actually applicable to everything. Yeah, Bubblemaps, we apply this to crypto because the data is there, the data is public. But really, the idea with Bubblemaps is you take a series of wallets or information and you plug them into bubbles on a plan, and then you can see how the wallets are mutually connected, or the bubbles are mutually connected. But we could literally, I don't know, have a bubble map of the most common words used in the dictionary and see how all the bubbles are connected, meaning how all the words are next to each other on sentences. A bubble maps idea is very broad, but we apply this to tokens because it is just the data is there, it's automatically generated, and we can translate it easily into a graph. But really, the bubble map idea could be used on many different topics.
Okay.
I'm going on a tangent here, but
No, but then I have a question, because basically you're talking about words and the way each word is connected to another, like statistically, I assume. It reminds me of how you train an intelligence, how you train a chatbot, and in the past years, the chatbots have been getting more and more traction, and they've been nearly able to pass the Turing test. I mean, if you're looking at the fanciest chatbots at the moment, it's getting very, very interesting. Most people can't fathom how fast it went from a very dumb bot to something that is actually quite convincing, and for some people disturbing. Like, oh shit, now we're out of the uncanny valley. Like, it doesn't sound like an intelligent robot anymore. It doesn't even sound like a dumb human. It sounds like, oh shit, this is interesting. So would there be a link? Would there be a bubble map to train an AI, for example, or would there be a use? We're doing prospective here, like prospective futurism.
I see.
How would it happen to if there was a connection between AI and would there be a use for AI to improve bubble maps, or vice versa? I don't know.
Well, first of all, I agree that the AI capabilities have exploded in the last year. In the last year alone, with DALL-E, the OpenAI, of course, has done a tremendous job with DALL-E 2. So DALL-E 2 is you can generate image through text, but it's like absolutely insane. I use it for our Twitter. Like for our Twitter, sometimes I have an idea of design, and I'm like, can you please generate a cat on a roller skater with a dark light? And boom, it happens in 10 seconds. It's insane. And the chatbot that you're mentioning, GPT, how it's called, CGT.
I'm confusing with CBD, but that's weed. No. Well,
ChatGPT or whatever, the chat from OpenAI.
The chatbot from OpenAI, the one that everyone uses to even write intent letters for an employer. Now I have a friend who did that. She tried it and it worked.
You know that this chatbot passed a law exam in the US? Like, it's so good that it actually have lawyer capacity. It can literally defend a case in front of a judge.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it is insane. It is insane. It can code for you. It can write poems. It can write love letters, intention letters, cover letter, whatever. It's crazy.
I saw that in a marketing related post on LinkedIn. I saw a guy testing the chatbot and testing the same kind of AI to write an SEO strategy. So for our listeners who are not familiar with it, is basically write the right words to hack the Google algorithm so that people type the proper keywords and find your website first and before the others. And the AI is now able to completely refine a marketing strategy for you. So This is also, that means that you will have AIs competing with each other, one of them trying to protect you from other AIs trying to sell you stuff. That's going to be complicated.
That's crazy what they do. But yeah, with Bubblemaps, I'm not sure what would be the link here, to be honest. It's not on the roadmap. Let's say
Of
realistically,
course.
we don't have anything on the roadmap related to deep AI topics like this. But man, we never know. With the expected fundraising, we're gonna have a more broad range of possibilities. Why not?
Oh, I was asking the question about a future prospection.
Of course.
What would happen if? Thank you so much, Nicolas. That was a great way to finish this interview. Everyone, this was Nicolas Vaiman from Bubblemaps. Please find the links we talked about in the description. And please support them, follow them. Same thing for us. Like, share, subscribe, everything. Bye, Nicolas.
Thank you, Gauthier.